Iran now appears to be one step ahead of Donald Trump, as reports of possible US ground invasion planning are met with visible Iranian preparations. Iran said Kharg Island is in complete security, with officials insisting that normal life has returned and the armed forces are fully ready for any aggression. Trump's reported ground operation plans may now face even greater danger, especially as the Houthis have entered the war and widened the battlefield at a highly sensitive moment.
The Yemeni armed forces, by the grace of Allah and reliance upon Him, have carried out their first military operation. This operation involved a salvo of ballistic missiles that targeted sensitive military sites of the Israeli enemy in the southern region of the occupied land of Palestine.
The spokesperson for the Iranian parliament made a major claim about Kharg Island on March 28, presenting the island as stable and secure despite growing war-related speculation around its future. Ibrahim Rezaei said that life has returned to normal in Kharg, according to a report by Fars news agency that was also reflected in other coverage on March 28. Rezaei further claimed that Kharg Island is in complete security and said Iran's armed forces remain fully prepared for any possible escalation around the strategic island.
Along with a number of our colleagues, we have arrived at the resilient Kharg Island. God willing, life is continuing and oil exports are proceeding without any problems, and we have not seen any specific issues here. Security is completely established on the island. The valiant employees of the oil industry are also busy carrying out their activities on this island. What I can confidently tell you is that our armed forces are committed and sworn that if any aggressor violates this Iranian island, they will certainly face the harshest response and will not return alive.
Rezaei's remarks came at a time when reports were raising the possibility of a potential US ground operation involving Kharg Island as the war continues to widen. Notably, the United States is reportedly deploying troops from the 82nd Airborne Division to the Middle East as part of a broader military buildup in the region. That deployment has fueled fears of a possible ground operation, especially as Washington has paused some energy-related strike options while still expanding military capacity nearby. Reports say Iranians have already begun laying mines and moving additional forces to the island in anticipation of a possible assault or seizure attempt. Iran has reportedly been laying traps that include anti-personnel and anti-armor mines, underscoring how seriously Tehran appears to be taking the threat to Kharg Island. Kharg Island is considered crucial because it handles roughly 90% of Iran's crude exports, making it one of the country's most strategically valuable economic assets. Reports have said the Trump administration has considered seizing the island as a form of leverage tied to reopening or securing passage through the Strait of Hormuz. On March 27, Iranian-linked claims and broader war reporting kept attention focused on control of Hormuz, with the strait remaining central to both military signaling and energy pressure in the conflict.
And then there was a big moment also in my first administration when I took out Soleimani. And a lot of people think that might have been the biggest thing of all because he was a mad genius. He was a vicious, horrible human being, but he was a great general and a great leader, if you define a leader in a certain way, very, very powerful leader. In fact, he was so powerful that I really think that the leadership of Iran was extremely happy when I took him out, but they don't say that, but nobody's going to be asking him anymore because they're not here either. But getting the termination and terminating the Iran nuclear deal that was done by Biden and Obama, I would say mostly Obama. Actually, I don't think Biden knew where he was then, too. He had no idea. If you said to him, the Iran nuclear, what's that? But there was 4 years of hell we had with this guy as our leader, I'll tell you. And then we hit him with the B-2 bomber, so we did it twice. But if they would have had a nuclear weapon, it would have been a whole big deal. And I wouldn't be here right now, and probably you guys wouldn't be too happy. You might be in an area, who knows where you would have been. But we did it twice. And I really believe we saved the Middle East. We saved not just Israel, we saved the Middle East. And it was proven by all those rockets that fired down upon you. Saudi Arabia got hit a lot. You all got hit, and nobody expected any missiles to be wasted. You would have thought they were only going at Israel. They weren't. As President of the United States, I would never allow the world's #1 state sponsor of terror to obtain a nuclear weapon. I said that for a long time. And I didn't. To defend America and our allies over the past 27 days, the U.S. Armed Forces, most powerful in the world, have been annihilating Iran's military capacity with force, precision, skill like the world has never seen. It was violence, actually, really violence. We're crushing Iran's currently, as we speak. I just looked. We had another big day. We hit them. They don't know what's happening. Remember this. They lied about 3 days ago. I said, yeah, we're negotiating with Israel. We are not negotiating. They're being hit so hard. Anybody would be negotiating. They are negotiating. They're begging to make a deal. They're begging to make a deal. Turned out I was right. They were negotiating, which they admitted 2 days later. And in order to make up for their misstatement, they said, we're going to send you 8 ships of oil. And the following day I saw, this is 2 days ago, I saw on one of the networks, very strange, there were 8 ships of oil coming out of Iran. And then they actually said, we're going to add an extra 2. And they added an extra 2, so we had 10 ships. And then people realized we were actually negotiating. And we're negotiating now, and it'd be great if we could do something, but they have to open it up. They have to open up the Strait of Hormuz. Excuse me for this. I'm so sorry. Such a terrible mistake. The fake news will say, he accidentally said, no. There's no accidents with me, not too many. If there were, we'd have a major story. No, well, we had that with the Gulf of Mexico. Remember the Gulf of Mexico? And one day I said, why is it the Gulf of Mexico? We have 92% of the area around it. They have 8%, really less than 8%. But for 350 years, it was good. You know, they were there 100 years longer than us, Mexico. They're at 350, we're at 250. And I said, I've often asked myself, why do we call it the Gulf of Mexico? It seems like we dominate. Well, when I checked, it was more than 92%. So I announced, I wouldn't say Mexico was thrilled, but I announced that from now on, the Gulf of Mexico is going to be called the Gulf of America. And it took about 1 hour, and it was done. Everybody, the president called me. She's really a nice person, too. I like her a lot. She called up. She had the most beautiful voice. She's a very elegant woman, has a beautiful, beautiful voice. She goes, President, tell me, this is not so. No, it's so. Oh, it's so. And then Google Maps changed it. We won the court case in about 1 hour, and Google Maps changed the name. And it's now the Gulf of America, which it should be, in all fairness. We're crushing Iran's weapons stockpiles, destroying their missiles and drone factories at levels nobody ever thought was possible, and turning their defense industrial base into nothing. Iran's navy is gone. It's all sunk at the bottom of the Gulf and elsewhere. Did you see the attack submarine that we have went after one of their boats? It was called the Soleimani. It was the pride of their fleet. But this attack submarine goes like 60 miles an hour. I never saw anything. And it caught them in about 2 minutes. And that was the end of the Soleimani. Now, then they're 100% dead. They have 22 mine droppers. They call them mine droppers. And the mine droppers, all 22 are gone. So I guess they can drop mines, but they're going to have to take them out by a rowboat because they don't have any boats. Their Air Force is dead, totally, completely dead. It's out of business. No planes left at all. Their anti-aircraft and communications capabilities are totally dismantled and dead. And their leaders are all dead. Other than that, I think they're doing quite well. No, their leaders are dead. Their supreme leader is no longer supreme. He's dead. The son is either dead or in very bad shape because nobody's heard from him. I think he says, just keep me out of this. This is the only country where nobody wants to lead. There's nobody. Who would like to lead Iran? Please raise your hand, a big audience of just saying, who would like to be our leader? Dead silence. Nobody wants to lead.
In continuation of the heroic actions of the country's armed forces, we carried out a sustained and joint missile and drone operation by the naval and aerospace forces of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps in the 83rd wave of Operation True Promise 4, targeting the positions of the American and Zionist enemies. Our devoted fighters in the IRGC Navy and Aerospace Forces, while maintaining smart and powerful control over the Strait of Hormuz and holding the initiative in the Persian Gulf, will continue attacks on enemy positions in the region with strength, by the grace of God.
Meanwhile, Yemen's Houthis, who are aligned with Iran, announced on March 28 that they were joining the war, opening another front in an already expanding regional confrontation. According to the Times of Israel on March 28, Yemen's Houthis launched a missile attack aimed at southern Israel as part of that newly declared intervention. The IDF said it intercepted a missile fired by the Houthis towards southern Israel, according to reporting from the Times of Israel. No injuries were reported in what was described as the first attack launched from Yemen during the current war. The Houthis also threatened further intervention if the war continues to escalate or if additional parties openly join the US-Israel side of the conflict.
In implementation of what was stated in the previous communique of the Yemeni armed forces regarding the direct military intervention in support and backing of the Islamic Republic of Iran and the fronts of the resistance in Lebanon, Iraq, and Palestine, and in light of the continued military escalation, the targeting of infrastructure, and the perpetration of crimes and massacres against our brothers in Lebanon, Iran, Iraq, and Palestine, the Yemeni armed forces, by the grace of Allah and reliance upon Him, have carried out their first military operation. This operation involved a salvo of ballistic missiles that targeted sensitive military sites of the Israeli enemy in the southern region of the occupied land of Palestine. This operation coincided with the heroic operations being carried out by our Mujahideen brothers in Iran and Hezbollah in Lebanon, and the operation successfully achieved its objectives, by the grace of Allah. Our operations, with Allah's support, will continue until the declared goals are achieved, as stated in the previous communique of the armed forces, and until the aggression against all fronts of the resistance ceases.